Yeah, I took.
Huh?
No, because that's what the way it is. It's facing.
Commissioner, those should be 4 points.
Oh,
And I'm sending you guys the
look
bill.
who
It's
the
about
author is.
$3,000.
Look who did it. Andy. Andy Casanera.
I will.
It's the city man. Let's see. You guys ready? Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Laredo, July 19th of 2018. First item that we have on the agenda is the call to order, and I just did that. And second item is a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Erasmo Villarreal,
Present.
José Tellez, Carlos Flores,
Present.
Javier Compián, Raúl Ugalde,
Present.
Tony Narváez,
Present.
Joe Villarreal,
Present.
Daniel Lopez, Jorge Dominguez. Present. For the record, Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Thank you. I would like a motion to excuse Commissioner Tellez and Commissioner Compián.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, if everybody could please join us, stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the minutes of the meeting of July the 5th, 2018.
I have a question. Wasn't there, two motions that I, oh, okay, I got it, yeah.
It's good. Does anybody have any corrections, deletions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes of July 5th, 2018.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next item that we have is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lots 5 and 6, block 1626, Eastern Division, located at 2719 and 2721 Jaime Zapata Memorial Highway, from R2 to B1 Limited Business District. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change, in favor of the zone change. Yes, ma'am, would you please step up?
Yes, sir.
Would you state your name for the record?
Blanca Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am. And you are in favor of the zone change?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To commercial.
Commercial? Yes. Okay, does anybody on the commission have any questions for Ms. Gonzalez? Not? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is anybody else wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor of the zone change?
Mr. Chairman, I have an update. We
Yes.
have received 4 letters in favor and 1 in opposition.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change, against the zone change, just a minute. Against the zone change. Against the zone change. Okay, yes, sir.
What does the letter in opposition say?
It says, reason why I'm objecting is I don't want it to become business because of the taxes will increase. It is from 2720 Liga. Matilde Treviño.
Thank you.
Okay. What are the wishes of the commission?
So can I bring it up for discussion? It's surrounded by B1s, right? If I'm looking at it correctly, the only reason for, a question for staff, so the reasons that they're being not supported by staff is because the comprehend, no, where is it?
it's out of sync.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan.
What do you mean that's the only reason?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
pretty much. This is designated as medium, density residential,
So does it make sense? And it's right in
commercial.
major arterial, right?
Yep.
So is the area conforming to its needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That area has basically been a mid-market all the time. And they go back to the mid-market, has the applicant disclosed what they're gonna use it for?
I don't think it's the meat
It's,
market.
meat market's across the street.
Across the street.
It's across the
Was
street.
across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
video store.
tortilleria right there, right? Used to be a,
So it's an established business before?
Yeah.
It was a video store.
it was a video store.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to see if you can use it.
Commercial plaza. Commercial
It's a commercial plaza.
They still need to comply with parking requirements and all that stuff.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Why was this area designated as a medium-density residential?
That's a good question. What happened during the comp plan formulation was the consultants took the old map and basically took those things and just used it and didn't convert anything, so it's premised on the old future land use map. But as you all know from reading the comp plan, we're supposed to make recommendations based on what the comp plan.
Right, so,
If it sounds,
so my interpretation is the comp plan is supposed to guide us. So we also have to make good judgment and common sense decisions, right, when it comes to something like this?
and also when you do make a change that is in conflict with the comprehensive plan, the future land use map is automatically updated. So in this case where you would, let's say you found it advisable to and appropriate to change it to a B1, we would reflect that on the future land use map and also shows a trend of change as well. And the other thing is that when you all get a chance to look at that part of South Laredo, you may want to consider doing more than just a piecemeal change for that residential and move it into the commercial. As a practical matter, this thing is on Jaime Zapata Highway. That's a commercial corridor. There's no two ways about it. They're asking for a B1, which is the least intense of the commercial uses. And you can guess the next thing I'm going to say.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a question about the comp plan though. I understand what y'all are saying, I completely get it. In other words, let me just be clear what you're saying. What you're saying is, there's already B1 there. It is a commercial corridor, so it falls in line with kind of what's already there.
But the development that's in
It's
the
already
area.
there, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question to you is this. In the medium-density residential, the last sentence of the description here says, thoughtfully designed small office, retail, or mixed-use buildings can also be built at key intersections to provide neighborhood amenities. Civic buildings should also respect the character of a primarily residential neighborhood, but can also be used as landmarks. So, does this project have these characteristics of what is defined under here, medium-density residential? the way that it's proposed? And if it has those characteristics, does it make it easier for us to approve it as opposed to not having those characteristics? Because it seems like that's an exception within medium density.
It is an exception within medium density residential's description. But if you look at the land use equivalent chart that was provided to us by the consultants, and you look at that conversion, you will see that medium density residential under the under the conversion chart does not recognize B1. B1 is not recognized until you either get to high density residential or neighborhood mixed use. And in this case, we know that the corridor is already going to be commercial more than it is residential. So the neighborhood mixed use or even mixed use center would be the proper designation if you were going to remap that under those use,
Existing uses.
under those use categories.
Would it,
Now, at some point, I mean, obviously, there's gonna have to be a realignment, to accomplish what you're talking about, where you're going to start wondering whether or not in your R1s, R2s, stuff like that, you're gonna wanna be allowing even offices and small businesses to begin.
You take that on a case by case.
And that, of course, is where you come to a sticking point, and I don't think a lot of folks recognized that when that comp plan was going on. Because, I mean, there's two trains of thought there. You have your urbanists, your new urbanists who feel like, you should have this opportunity for those lighter use and businesses to actually be within the neighborhood areas. And then you have folks who live in those neighborhoods, who have a completely different opinion about that. They're like, I really want my neighborhood to be for single family or, whatever, but I don't want businesses. Now, that's when you get into the issue of, what are you gonna do along the fringe of the neighborhood, and maybe it's permissible there and so forth. But
The way I read the definition of the medium density is that we don't have a problem with you building businesses there, but there have to be businesses that are gonna enhance the quality of life, possibly even the value of the residential that surrounds it, right? So like, I'll give you an example, like one might be a restaurant, right, would be something that would do that. But something that would not be that would be like it says here, like a garage, right? Like you have, under the definitions here, B1, like a minor repair garage. Like that's probably not gonna increase the value of that neighborhood's property.
likely not. But that's where I say it's, at some point as this process continues, as this thing evolves, those things are gonna have to get teased out.
Right, but I feel like,
We're just not there yet.
and I may be wrong, but, and, you all obviously have your own opinion, but I think part of our job is to say, this project, if this project does not fall under the comp plan's recommended type of building or use, or within the exception, then can we send it back to the developer to come back and come into conformity with the exception, so that whatever design they're gonna use, or whatever kind of property they're gonna build, or, building or use that they're gonna have, it's something that's gonna complement the quality of life of that area, as opposed to just saying, well, there's already B1 everyone else, so we might as well do it. I mean, it
Well,
seems.
I don't-
Well, but you're
I
talking
don't-
about
I don't
design
think that's-
standards, and we don't have
No,
design
we're not talking about
standards.
design standards.
Because
I'm
that's
talking
really
about
what
the
it
type-
is.
No, I'm talking about the type of business that would be there.
Well, yeah,
That's right.
but you're asking for, something that would be more of a design
Building, yeah.
and aesthetics type thing,
Yeah, and see,
as
that's
opposed to
the
a
other.
zone change.
That's the other issue there. I understand exactly what you're saying, and this comprehensive plan, I think, is pushing us in that direction. But it's still disjointed, because the comprehensive plan is pushing us in a certain direction, but our codes are telling us something different. And when they put them together and try to synchronize them, then you have this kind of an offset. In this particular case, I don't think, I mean, if you were looking at it from a clean slate kind of issue, knowing that that's a highway, okay? and knowing what the uses are that are already there are, it doesn't make sense to try to say it's, you know, medium density residential when you know for a fact that it's really probably a mixed use center. Which does not exclude housing necessarily or apartments. What it does is it opens it up to the kinds of things that you're talking about, where you get these other businesses in there that hopefully can, you know, cohabitate.
But, so it
With-
says it's gonna
with
be a
that.
commercial plaza, what exactly will they be having in there?
Well, I don't know how big of a commercial plaza, I mean,
A repair shop,
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, what's gonna be there?
the retail,
Well,
what's
whatever
allowed,
the
what's
uses of a
allowed
B
there.
one are, is what could be in there,
Department store,
okay?
restaurants.
Whatever the uses of a B one is what would be allowed in that
Yeah,
commercial
well, see,
plaza.
then it doesn't sound like it falls within the exception. I mean, whatever, you guys vote however you want.
Okay, then,
well, I
can
mean,
I,
commercial plaza generally is a commercial retail area. I mean, you know, it's gonna have some
I
shops and
understand, I've seen the
let
comp plan
me,
is giving you a.
let me go ahead and recognize Commissioner Dominguez, he's been waiting a long time.
Something that might affect the property owner, once we approve the B one or we leave it on R1, it's whether the type of business they're gonna try to bring. Now, if the business compatible with B1, then we don't have any problem. We have a pattern in that area that most of the area, it's, we have a mechanic shop, a couple of blocks away, and we have a florist and grocery stores, and so on and so forth. So the question here would be, by giving B1, are we gonna change the area? Because actually, we're gonna go ahead and bring it on compliance. What they decide to put as a business, it will be entirely up to the building department. Because we're only looking at, a zone change. So I think, but I think it's appropriate to go with a B1, because that would bring that area in compliance. And that's what we wanna do. So we need to let building department to deal with whatever they come back and try to put in there. If it's something that is not feasible for B1, then they would need to ask for a conditional use permit, but that's another story. I think B1 is appropriate to do it right now. That's.
No, may I follow up?
Yes, sir.
And I understand what you're saying. I have a different way of seeing it. I think the way I see it is, the city made a policy decision that we are going to have a comp plan. Planners decided that this particular piece of property or this particular area, they want to see it develop in this particular way. So now we have a developer who wants to have it be outside of what the comp plan planners had decided. So the question should be, in my view, is this wrong?
No, yes, that's,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think you may be,
Oh, no, go ahead, explain it to me, I just want to understand.
the planners do not necessarily want to see this developed, as I said a minute ago, as necessarily a residential. Okay? That's not the planners doing, that's not our doing.
I'm talking about the comp planners, I'm talking about
Oh.
the people who develop the comp plan.
But, okay, so you're talking about the complers.
Yeah.
Now, what they did, again, is they did not do, you're assuming that they went through the future land use and they adjusted it accordingly to sync up with the comp plan. And what I'm trying to tell you is they did not do that. They took the old future land use map and they just chunked it down and then made some tweaks and then said, here's a conversion table. Okay? Now, the other thing I'll point out to you is, if you do decide to change the zone, okay, I think you're still being consistent, because the zone, at its bottom level, the B1, still allows the same kinds of things that are gonna occur in your mixed-use residential or medium-density residential. I think if you look at those two definitions, you're gonna find out that they're pretty darn similar. But for purposes of our zoning code, which is the regulatory authority, these folks can't say, well, okay, you know, we can do it because it's medium density. And that's included in the verbiage. They have to come in and say, we need a B1 to do what we need to put a commercial plaza or whatever else in there. And so you're gonna have to jump it up to that next level, whether it's either a mixed use or, you know, what is it, neighborhood, mixed use? or-
Okay, I think we've had enough
Follow me?
discussion on this. It's time for us to go ahead and, make a motion.
Last mention.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
We need a
I'll make
motion.
a
We've had
motion to
enough
close-
discussion on this
I'll make a
item.
motion to close public hearing and to support the
zone change from an R2 to a B1.
We have a motion. Do we have
Second
a
that
second?
motion?
And a second?
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Okay, we have one nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item that we have, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing a conditional use permit for outside storage, outdoor display area on lots 7, 8, and 9, block 779, Eastern Division located at 2302 North Seymour Avenue. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the conditional use permit, in favor of the conditional use permit?
Mr. Chairman, we have an update on this.
Yes.
We have, 4 letters, in opposition and 1 in favor.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Yes, sir.
I am the owner of the business that applied, is there
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Victor M. Gomez.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, go ahead.
I personally hand-delivered, 1 letter today and, from, to Alejandrina Sanchez this morning. I live right next door to the business. I mailed out, I don't know why you have only 1 in support. I live across the street from my business, 1502 Clark, for the record. I am the property owner of the property. Also, Mr. Robert Bird, who happens to live next door to my business, also sent a letter. I don't know why those letters wouldn't be on file. It's a mystery to me. There must be at least 4 letters in favor. Can I show some of the
Of course.
photographs in the
Yes, sir.
vicinity? This is the use that is going on.
Turn them around.
Upside down.
There you go.
This is 3 blocks from my house.
Clark Hardware.
This is the 1100 block, Clark Hardware. 3 blocks from my house, 3 blocks from my business. They have thousands of items outside. Probably.
Mr. Chairman, that item is not on the agenda. By bringing those photos, without having someone present from Clark Hardware, it might affect, that's my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know if there's somebody that can give us a legal opinion.
The relevance is that it's within a 3 block, from my business and also from my home, okay? I am a taxpayer. I pay over $5,000 a year taxes in the property where I reside. It's valued in the vicinity of $200,000, the home where I live. And in that home, I don't want the value of my home to be depreciated by a business, by a nuisance. I bought the property because the property was next door to my business. I have been in business for 18 years. Here is,
Let me ask you a quick question to the planning department. Does he have the correct zoning for the business?
B3.
It's got a B3. So you have the correct zoning for
That's
your
correct.
business.
yes,
I think the only question, that was a question I was gonna ask you, the reason for a conditional use permit if he has the correct zoning.
The outside storage and display. If all of the stuff were inside,
It's like a flea market. It
it'd be
sounds
fine.
Okay, so
But
basically,
The prohibition on, Ale, do you have the provision?
Yes.
The outside display and storage is required to have a,
this is on the corner of Guerrero and Arkansas, the southeast corner of Guerrero and Arkansas. They have thousands of items outside, photographed, it's residential. There's less traffic than Clark Boulevard. I'm on Clark Boulevard, 60,000 cars go by my home, by my business every day. Okay, this gentleman here, Rags, this way, Rags, Arkansas and Guerrero. It is on the south, everything is outside. This is the southeast corner. This is even the most deplorable photographs I'm about to show you. This is in the heart of our city. Why city inspectors have not done anything about this? It's been there for about 5 years, the tire shop, he has it's a fire hazard, hundreds and hundreds of tires, rims, dirt, abandoned vehicles. For the life of me, I do not understand how any of the city inspectors, including Mr. Orozco,
Mr. Chairman, he's here to
Talk about his-
his case.
Yeah.
And I understand the situation that he's under, and I understand his position. I think we all do. And, I mean, if he could, just address himself to these issues.
outside display. Just
Thank you.
one last one.
That's all. Just,
Outside display, this is
Examples
outside
is fine.
display, 6 blocks from here, corner of Coke and San Bernardo. Hundreds of items outside display. They have no parking. I have been a victim of retaliation. My business was targeted in March. I had been in business, like I showed you, 18 years. I have never been bothered by any city inspectors. I've never gotten a citation. It became a political attack on my business, my livelihood, the way I earn a living. They raided my place. I don't know if you're aware of that. There are so many businesses in this city that are not in compliance displaying items outside, such as pawn shops, bicycles. You have bicycles, you have lawnmowers, weed eaters. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander, okay? B3 zoning, it's for business. I've been there, like I said, for 8 years. Mr. Juan Narvaez was kind enough to put in a good word for me to rent that place, and the reason I've been there since then. Prior to that, that place had been a dilapidated, abandoned gas station. The weeds were knee-high. I cleaned up the place. Drive by there one of these days and see what a difference my business has made in that neighborhood, as opposed to what is going on in the heart of our city, right across from Taco Palenque, in the heart of our city on Guadalupe Street. The fire hazard, deplorable, not to mention the Mercy Hospital.
Okay.
Picking on me as the small business owner for not supporting somebody's political agenda is deplorable. This city has made me a scapegoat. I demand, I humbly request that you give it serious consideration. I've been doing it for 18 years. Why now? Why have I become the subject of, oh, you cannot display stuff outside? What about all these other guys that are doing it? Why is enforcement not uniform? Those are questions to both planning and zoning, which probably you have no teeth on that, but to the inspectors and to planning and zoning staff. You drive by San Bernardo and Coke, hundreds of items outside, no parking. Why is this happening? Why am I being targeted? There's another photograph. This was taken today. It is the northwest corner of Coke and San Bernardo, 6 blocks from here. So we're turning an eye, where do we live, Selective enforcement, I call it. Selective enforcement, discrimination against my business, because I did not support somebody's political agenda. Like I said, 18 years in business and have never gotten a citation. Why not? That is my big question. 18 years in business.
Okay.
If
All
I
right.
may, Mr.
Does
Chairman.
anybody have any questions
I
for
would like
Mr. Gomez?
I would like to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gomez, I appreciate you coming before us. As you may know, we're part of the community and we do this as a voluntary work. And I understand your point, but I think that I personally would like that we stick to your item, because nothing of what you mentioned as far as the city targeting you or not, I mean, it's something that we can't do anything about it.
I understand.
If they targeted you,
I understand.
well, they did, and I don't blame you for that. I think you might have a good point there. See? But right now, what we try to do, what I try to do personally, I try to help the community. You might be right that there might be a lot of places that are not in compliance, but it's time that everybody comes into compliance. See? I've been shortly in this committee, and I can tell you that I look for the community, and many times bringing some businesses into compliance also is helping the community, see? So whatever transpires here, whatever we vote, it's not gonna be you as an individual, but actually we're going by the ordinances.
I understand.
And let me finish. And believe me, everything that was shown on the screen, okay, I'm sure staff is taking notes, but those photos should be taken to the building department so they can enforce it. Whether they enforce it or not, is not
It's
in our
not your
power.
job, I understand.
And, I mean, not in our power, see, I mean, maybe someday you will be here, see, and you will make decisions that might affect some people, some persons on the community. And sometimes they will like it, sometimes they won't like it, see. We're gonna try to see what's proper, and what we do here, believe me, is gonna be as proper as possible.
I understand. May I respond?
Well, that's all the comment that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, sir, you still have the floor.
Let me just finish by saying that I am the most interested party in this whole building as far as the value of the neighborhood and of my home. Like I said, my residence is at 1502 Clark Boulevard, right across the street. And if anybody is interested in keeping values, property values, and doing away with eyesores that are all over the city, it's me. Go look at my lawn, go look at my business, there's no weeds there, I display beautiful rugs, beautiful blankets outside. And basically, I'm just humbly, once again, asking, I'm a small business owner, I need to continue to operate my business the way I've been doing it for 18 years, by displaying beautiful rugs, blankets, and also by selling paint to beautify our city. I sell house paint and at an affordable price, and many people are beautifying their homes thanks to the business that I own, that I run. I sell affordable paint to beautify the great city of Laredo.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Gomez. Would it be possible for you to come into compliance with the B3 ordinance where you're at right now by doing some minor modifications to bring it to compliance?
The storage of water totes is the biggest issue. They're large items, and the building is a small building. It's only about 1,000 square feet, and I cannot fit the totes in there, the water totes. And those, I mean, they're not hazard, it's not a hazard, it's just water totes.
I saw your site plan a little bit too. Would it be feasible, and I'm gonna ask the planning staff right now, for some kind of an enclosure, a wall or stuff where those tanks and the rest of that stuff could be an enclosed area?
Well, I think, what we suggested, I think we have some comments there regarding our suggestions as to how he could.
In other words, he just stated he
Remedy
wants to
from-
be in compliance and wants to go ahead and move forward with the city,
I certainly-
making sure everybody's within the B3.
I didn't go through the expense.
And, you know, and he's shown a lot of areas that I'm sure notes have been taken to go and address the issues. I think we all agree with you that we all want the best for the community, and like you stated, nobody wants anything that's gonna drop property value. We wanna stay within compliance. That's why we have zoning ordinances to try and say, hey, this is the way you need to operate your business.
What I think we suggest, Mr. Chairman, is that, he use the existing commercial canopy as a display area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then
there's-
the totes could probably be moved to the back of the building. I think he has ample
That's
space
exactly
back
where I
there.
designated tote storage. I know I have some on the front.
Okay.
But I can
And,
move them to the back, maybe just
Okay.
display one.
And again, this is our conditions. I mean, we listed what he wants to do, in all fairness, so that we know what
Well,
he's asking.
and I guess what I'm
And what
getting
we're
to
saying
is-
is, we think that the conditional use permit,
Does he need a conditional use permit if he just does a few movements?
well, remember, otherwise he can't do anything
Mr.
outside.
Orozco,
I'm sorry? Just a
Mr.
minute,
Orozco, let me
just a
just say
minute,
this.
just a minute, sir. Let him answer.
Can you read the provision that we're relying on?
For this, for conditions.
Why is he here for a CUP?
The CUP is for outdoor display that is not allowed on a B3. It's a B4 use, and also for the storage. The storage outdoors has to be screened and, in a B4.
It has to
A
be
B4
screened.
use. So what we suggested was to keep the storage that he created in the back of the property, as shown on the pictures.
Uh-huh.
All the storage, and just the existing, canopy that he has at the front of the building, since the building is very small, like he stated. It's only 1,104 square feet, to keep everything inside as per the provision, and on the canopy, to have the display.
What if he modifies his building a little bit, enclose some of the stuff where he would come into compliance, then he's in full compliance with B3,
Will be three, he doesn't miss
you know? It would take a few modifications,
I don't own the building.
He doesn't own it, he rents.
Right, but.
okay, but, you know, getting back to the same issue on a B3, you know, situation, if, you know, a few modifications are done and everything becomes an enclosed area, then he's in full compliance.
Well, that's correct. But that's
mean-
that's not what he's
And I
asking
understand
for.
he
He's
says-
asking for a CUP so he can continue outdoor display.
Well,
Okay, and so what we said is we suggested under our conditions that if the commission or the city council is wanting to go that direction, we give our recommendations as to what can be done. But at the end of the day, you or the council, your recommendation could say, let him continue as he is, and that's how we're gonna issue the permit. And that's how, you know, so that's up to you to make that recommendation and up to the council to approve it. I think what we're saying is if you're gonna consider CUP, then we've made recommendations about him moving his stuff under the canopy and so forth. That's just our recommendation. Obviously, many times before,
Well, I mean,
the commission and the
sometimes
council don't follow our recommendation, and
Okay,
that's fine.
Commissioner Dominguez, let me recognize him.
I noticed that one of the, that you're denying the conditional use permit. I mean, actually, you're not,
We're not supporting.
you're not supporting the
We think
conditional
it
use
should be
permit.
enclosed, I mean,
I know.
but I'm saying
Yes, sir.
we're trying to give all the options.
What happened is that, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gomez, we have a building that was originally built for a gas station. And, everybody in this room have gone to Clark and have seen the business Mr. Gomez has. Okay? And I guess many of us have bought paint there. But, allowing a conditional use permit, okay, it's allowing to walk away from a compliance. The B3, it's a good zoning. His business is a good business, but the business should be created in accordance to the B3. What we are allowing here with a conditional use permit that is not being supported by staff, we're allowing something to continue. If he would have been there for 1 year, I could probably understand that he would be ignorant as to the ordinances. But as to his words, he has been there for 18 years. So it's not something that couldn't have been fixed in a way that would be in compliance to B3. We're not looking at a situation that escalated from one day to the other, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Gomez. We have a situation that has been there for 18 years. Now,
Mr. Dominguez.
8 years.
Mr. Dominguez.
let me finish.
Yeah, no, but you understand, he has been in business for 18 years. Of those 18 years, he has been at that site for 8 years.
8 years.
Okay, he hasn't
8
been,
years.
he's been there for 8 years. He was, I think you were on Guadalupe before, correct?
Was on, yes, the city purchased the
so-
property, yet again victimized by the city, where the boxing gymnasium right next door, the
I'm gonna make a comment, Mr. Gomez. Please don't make a comment that you're being victimized by the city
that's
unless
true.
you have a proof.
Well,
I
I
will
was
thank
forced
you
to
for
move
that.
out, I was forced to move out of
Thank
my
you, sir.
previous location because the city of Laredo purchased the.
But can we just keep it relevant for the,
Yeah, let's,
for the
let's,
sake of
let's-
time, can we keep it relevant to
let's
the
keep
issue
it
at
to
hand?
this issue, and I guess the issue really comes down to, can modifications be done to the existing building that you rent to bring it into compliance with a B3 zone where you can continue working without a problem? That's the question I think that, I know I have,
That's what I have to.
and I know some of the commission members have the same question.
We're not,
And, I mean, obviously, we want you to continue working at the same location. But at the same token, we're saying, okay, it's a B3, it's got the appropriate zone to carry out this type of activity. The only issue is that the enclosed area might be a little bit small for your business to continue, because you're having to use the outside of it to do some of the, displays or storage or whatever. And that's the only thing I'm asking is, can, some modifications be done to bring this particular, place into compliance? And I don't have the answer. I don't think you have the answer with us today either. Would it be feasible if maybe we can, ask, and this is totally gonna be up to you, to table the item, maybe get together with the property owner, say, can some modifications be made where my business can be legal in the B3 zone?
Or with building, trying to get the minimum to comply with the B3.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we don't wanna close them
No,
down.
no. What
See?
I'm saying is, how does minimally, altering the facility to make him hold in a B3 zone?
Do we have anybody that been, any comments opposing it?
Well, right now, we're
We're still
strictly in, he's the first, gentleman up, but at this point, it is a public hearing. That is only, one of the comments that we have. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Gomez from the commission? No? Okay, thank you for your comments, Mr.
Thank you,
Gomez.
Mr. Gomez.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the conditional use permit, in favor of the conditional use permit. Is there anybody who wishes to speak against the conditional use permit? Against? Okay. So, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'm gonna make a motion to table the item and allow Mr. Gomez, if he so agrees, to go back to building and planning and try to come to terms in a way that he could continue his business, but at the same time that he can have a minimum compliance with the B3.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, signify by saying.
I thought we couldn't table these items.
Huh?
I thought we couldn't table these items. I thought he had to call it off.
No.
No, you can
The
table.
commission can,
No, we can table.
we can do it. Okay, so the motion carries.
No, I mean, he has a right to appeal from a denial. I would have to go look and think it through, because I think it specifically says he can appeal from a denial. But from a table, I'm not sure he can appeal it.
Right.
So at some point,
It has to come back.
You has to come back.
Or
You
it
can't
has-
hold him here forever. and
Or
just-
he can
his
figure
application.
out that maybe he can't come into compliance without having to come
Well, I have
back.
to come back and just withdraw
Because
the
it may
application.
just be a matter of a few modifications to the facility,
Well, I mean,
Yes, sir.
but that's, again, between
Again,
the renter and the property owner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're gonna move right along.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I mean, in all fairness to the gentleman, you can table it, he's gonna have to wait 2 weeks. He may not be willing to look at that, I mean, at that option. And you can give him the 2 weeks and bring it back and decide then. I mean,
Yes, sir.
but you can also ask him whether or not
Well,
that's
we're
something.
trying to work with everybody so that it doesn't become a flat out, we're trying to do several things, and Mr. Gomez mentioned it. Obviously, he's got the best interest of the community at heart too, to making sure that things get done correctly. He mentioned, he looked at a lot of different areas that are out of compliance.
Yes.
So it's an issue of how do we start getting, I mean, we can continue looking in the other way, but the issue is, if we're gonna make this a progressive city, we must start taking action on the correct zones and what goes in the correct zones.
And the idea is that he doesn't get bothered again, see?
And so-
Once he gets on compliance, Mr. Sherman, that he doesn't have to be looking over his
I
shoulder
agree, I mean,
anymore.
we're just trying to get everybody into compliance the way the zoning ordinances have been written right now. This is an option right now that has been, by the commission. He's got an additional 2 weeks to see if it can be worked out. They may just come right back to us, it doesn't get worked out, we move forward with it, one way or the other, and the commission votes on it.
Who do I need to work it out with the zoning department?
Well, I think the first thing is talk to the building and the zoning department, and then obviously talk to the landlord and see if, everybody's in agreement to how you can come into compliance by making some modifications.
If I may address Mr. Gomez real quick.
Yes, go right ahead.
Mr. Gomez, what we did here today, it was in your benefit. We had a choice not to grant the conditional use permit, but by tabling the item, we're keeping it open, so you don't feel that you have been singled out. We're giving 2 weeks so you can get together with building and planning and zoning to get the minimum requirements to comply, even as a B3. So it was on your benefit. It would have been very sad if we would have completely cut it down.
Who would be the contact person?
I'm sure, the person from planning.
You've been dealing with Alejandra?
With me. Well,
Well, then,
Any of those?
I would say,
Mr. Orozco, with Luis Villa, with,
well, I guess,
Well, the building
Mr.
department or the
Villa.
planning department.
start
Mr.
with
Chairman,
Ms. Sanchez, and then she will obviously coordinate with whoever else needs to coordinate. That way you don't have to go looking around to different places. Would you do that, please?
if that's what you're recommending?
I think it's only appropriate that, you know, we guide the gentleman and try to figure out
Mr.
how can
Chairman?
we make a B3
Mr.
work.
Chairman, I would prefer that Mr. Gomez just gets in touch with me.
That's fine.
I will set
And
meetings for him and
Okay.
get the appropriate staff.
Even better.
I mean,
From
I
both
was,
building and plan, I
I
understand.
realize how many meetings and stuff you have, but that's even better.
Even
Well,
better.
just call and ask
That's
for me,
even
and
better.
we'll set up a meeting
That's
for
even
you,
better.
where you don't
Okay.
have to chase anybody down,
All
and
right.
get everybody in the same
That's
room.
even better. Okay?
Mr. Gomez.
Thank you. All right. Next item that we have, amending the zoning ordinance, in the city of Laredo by authorizing a conditional use permit for a bar on Lot 2A, Block 2, Lago del Mar subdivision located at 2511 East Del Mar Boulevard, Suite 2. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the conditional use permit?
Mr.
Yes, ma'am,
Chairman,
would
we
you
have an
step up?
update.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have 1 in favor, 2 against.
Okay, thank you. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor, would you please step up?
For the record, my name is Maribel Garcia, and I'm here on behalf of USA Yusheng, Ms. Lily Wang, and DNF Entertainment, Moses. I would like to talk about Moses because I don't know if you are aware that this business opened in 2005. A very nice, upscale, low-key establishment. Same location, building, and it hasn't really changed much in 13 years. There's a gas station, yard art. Looks like an empty lot, but it's more like a garage. Still the same thing, and we all know the clientele Tokyo Garden has, so they want to maintain it. So their age range on the bar would be 30, up to all those young at heart, like me. Somewhere to go, somewhere nice to go. So, we did go over all the conditions, and they agree with all of them.
You agree with them?
Yes,
Okay.
in case you were to grant the conditional use permit.
All right, well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Garcia? No? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the conditional use permit? In favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against the conditional use permit? Against the conditional use permit? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
So I want to make a motion to close public hearing and support applicant for a conditional use permit.
Second the
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item that we have is public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 4A, Block 1, Vista Hermosa subdivision, Unit 3, located at 5507 McPherson Road, from B3 to B4. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change?
Hello, good evening. My name is Anna Jacquemin, for the record. I'm here in place of Mr. Paolo Favorato. He asked me to be here because he had to go out of town at the last minute. He asked me to ask you all to please consider changing the zone, being as McPherson has always had bars. And they did apply for a conditional use permit, but it's gonna cost him a lot of time, a lot of money. He's gonna have to and it's free rent. until that, to see if that permit's approved.
Does anybody have any questions, Ms. Jackson?
Question for staff. They're applying for a conditional use permit at the same
Yeah.
time?
Two or what?
No,
No, they're going from a B3 to B4. That's
But
what
then
they're
it says
asking for.
it's-
Now, she was saying that if
if,
they went the other route.
On the same item?
Two different items?
No. She was just making a comment, if I understand her correctly, that
Exactly.
rather than applying for a conditional use permit without a tenant, I guess is the way I understood it,
that's.
that they're applying for a strict zone change so that they can get a tenant in there easier. That's what I understood. Is that
That's
correct?
That's correct.
All right. Any other questions for her on that?
No, I have a comment.
Thank you. All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? All right. Those who wish to speak against, I do have Ms. Silvia Cosio, who has signed up to speak, please.
A todos los residentes de la colonia Vista Hermosa, estamos en contra de que se vaya a poner otra barra ahí. Estuvimos peleando para quitar el E-Bar y el Cowboys y ahora está el antro que se cambió, que antes era A-Bar, ¿verdad? Ok, ¿se puede ver aquí? Tuvimos muchos problemas y las familias con sus niños, hasta las 2 de la mañana estaba la música a todo lo que da, nadie podía dormir. Tuvimos muchos problemas con los niños que no se podían dormir y bajaron sus grados. Personas que tenían que entrar a las 4 de la mañana y tuvo un accidente una persona que estaba trabajando para Fredo Express porque el ruido no terminaba. Y no nada más hasta las 2 de la mañana, sino eran las 3 de la mañana y están limpiando y están riéndose y carros que se quedaban ahí platicando y tomando todavía. ¿Ok? Levantamos estas firmas, si pueden ver, ¿ok? Para que estábamos en contra de eso. Se las voy a entregar ahorita para que las vean. Se las voy a dejar una copia de esto. ¿Ok? Se levantó un reporte de policía de la escuela. Este es de la policía de UISD, reportes de la policía del PD, ¿ok? Donde estaban dejando pedazos de cigarros, de marihuana, inyecciones, no sé, de drogas, pastillas, de todo eso lo que encontró la policía de United, ¿ok? Se les mostró a todos a ellos, ¿ok? Inclusive hasta un niño al siguiente día de escuela, estaba un condón sucio y el niño que iba caminando para entrar era de kinder o first grade, ¿ok? Agarra ese, iba a soplar como si fuera un globo. ¿Ok? Todo eso se estuvo explicando para que sepan las razones por las que no queremos que se aplique una barra más ahí en la colonia de Vista Hermosa. ¿Ok? Todas las firmas las tenemos, ¿ok? Y nada más lo que queremos que tomen en cuenta, aquí está, de todas las personas que están viviendo ahorita ahí, de lo más a las que les mandaron cartas, de que no queremos que aprueben eso. No queremos que vuelvan a pasar las personas tomadas a 60 millas, 70 millas por hora enfrente de la calle Cypress. No queremos accidentes, no queremos que estén en nuestros jardines drogándose o borrachos o fumando marihuana o teniendo sexo, porque también tenían sexo allí. En el solar que está es el 5712 o 5714, es el solar que está solo. Es ahí donde estaban haciendo sus drogas y teniendo sexo, ¿ok? Es nada más, de esa manera luchamos y todo esto y pudimos hacer que en el solar se pusiera una cerca alta que lo aprobó el mayor, ¿qué se llama? Bueno, el mayor anterior a Salinas, perdón. Y nos puso una cerca de 8 pies para que ya nadie cruzara por ahí porque por ahí pasaban para las barras. Okay. El problema que tenemos no es nada más eso, sino que se usaban armas y saliendo de las barras estaban como si fuera 4 de julio, si fueran cohetes. ¿Okay? Reportes de policía, o sea, hay familias, niños que van a la escuela, jóvenes que van al colegio, a la universidad, tienen que estudiar, y 2 de la mañana se termina la música, 3 de la mañana y todavía siguen, 4 de la mañana y todavía están limpiando y platicando atrás de las barras, ¿ok? Los que están limpiando, haciendo escándalos. Y luego después aparte, a las 4:30 a 5 va el señor con los que recoge las botellas, los botes azules, haciendo un ruido, o sea, nada más es de que se quiere descansar, la gente necesita silencio, necesita paz. Tenemos el derecho, todos, las personas de ahí, en tener tranquilidad.
Okay, all right. Gracias.
Gracias. ¿Quiere que le entregue esto?
Please. Anybody who wishes to speak against the conditional use permit? Against the conditional use permit? I'm sorry, the zone change.
Es que a unos no les llegó, otros están de vacaciones. Esas son las firmas que levantamos.
Thank you.
Let me ask the staff here a question before we go any further. I noticed the comment on the proposed use. That the proposed use is a bar, but there is a CUP that has been turned in for an amusement redemption
For
machine.
the following cycle, on the same location, yes.
Okay.
What was that, for what?
There is a CUP that has been turned in on the same property for the next cycle of planning and zoning for an amusement redemption machine. Right now, they're asking for a B4, but they're also then asking for a conditional use permit for an amusement redemption machine. Two different uses, same
Different
property.
tenants too.
I'm sorry?
Different tenants. That CUP that is on file is from a different tenant.
So the building is gonna be split or something, is that pretty much?
Well, clearly, if the city council approves a B4, then it can be a bar or it can be
Any use in a B4.
redemption,
Yeah.
because both of those are allowed
Okay.
by right. I think what they're maybe doing is anticipating,
Okay.
you know, an outcome here. But that's if it's a B4. So I mean, I would imagine that if the council approves a B4 in that area, which we would recommend against and have recommended against.
Let me ask one last question. Was there any updates in favor or opposed,
No, just what we have
other than
on the
what,
communication.
Did we have, did we
What
get?
she provided, we
what she
don't
brought
have on
in?
file,
the
yes.
neighborhood?
We have the petition. We
The
haven't gone through the
neighborhood behind
petition,
that
so we
is-
don't know how many more people within the 200 feet, but clearly it's the neighborhood.
The neighborhood behind it is
And-
against the zone change.
For those of you who don't remember, some years back, there was a bar there. There was a lot of trouble. This was one of the sites that actually sort of motivated the city council to address the issue of what were called renegade bars. They were bars that were locating in a zone that was not for bars, and then they would serve alcohol as part of their restaurant, and then they would kind of get rid of the restaurant part and just turn it into a bar. So that's when we got the SUP for restaurants serving alcohol, to control that and make sure that those volumes of alcohol that were sold were below the 50%. So this is one of the sites that sort of was a motivating, back then, it was a motivating factor for that. And we did have a lot of testimony at that time, very similar to what the lady said, on those back streets were being, I mean, they were just jammed with cars, and there were instances where syringes were found and other stuff. So,
Yes, Commissioner.
From what I see here, I mean, this is strictly a B3 zoning district, and by changing the zone, you would be isolating this particular location. I think what we need to do, or as I feel, is that we should stick to what's properly zoned and stay consistent with that. So that's just, you know, what I see here and how I feel here.
All right. Then we've already asked for people that were for and people that were against, so then I'm ready to entertain a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing and deny the zone change.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item that we have is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing a conditional use permit for a children amusement services outdoors. Lot 7 and 8, Block 2, San Jose subdivision located at 6321 and 6323 Casa del Sol Boulevard. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the conditional use permit? In favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we did get a correspondence from them asking to table my item to the next Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
That's their request from
All
Mr.
right.
Ediendo.
Make a motion to table the item.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is item 7A, El Eden Master Plan. And this is a request for review and reconsideration of El Eden subdivision master plan. The intent is residential and commercial. This is 583.26 acre tract located south of Sierra Vista Boulevard and west of Cuatro Vientos Road. The zoning for this 2,378 lot development is R1A, R1MH, R3, B1, and B3. This tract is located in District 1. The proposed action is approved, subject to the following comments from planning, from traffic.
Chairman.
Yes.
This is not a complete review of the master plan. What this is really an update. And really, the only reason that it is here is because we asked them to bring it in because they have a plat that they're bringing in that splits one of the phases. And so we asked them to bring the master plan in to show us that split of the phase. And that's occurring down in the lower left-hand corner there, where you see that commercial property right to the right.
Okay.
And so it was at one point a complete phase, and all they're doing is splitting it into two. What unit is it? And we've asked them
Where the
to do
commercial
that.
is.
Unit would be,
and Unit 22.
it's right here.
Yeah.
See where this arrow is? It's this
Yeah.
area right here. This was one, well, they call it unit, but, now they're splitting it into two. And so that's really all they're doing. We asked them to bring the master plan update, not a revision, update, just so that we would be tracking with them.
Sure. Okay.
Exactly. Wayne Nance, Porter Sands Engineering. With that said, we agree with all the rest of the conditions in this. Thank you.
Any questions? No questions. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the following comments.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the Stanford Heights Master Plan. This is a review and consideration of the Stanford Heights subdivision master plan. The intent is residential and commercial. The site is 14.03 acre tract located north of Jackman Road and east of Casa Verde Road. The zoning for this 77 lot development is R1. The proposed action is approved, subject to the following comments from planning, from engineering, from traffic safety, parks and leisure, and a notice to developer from planning. The engineer of record is Sherfy Engineering.
He asked to table the item. They submitted a revision to the,
All right, I just
To the
wanted to
master
clarify, since he is present, make sure that,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Frank Estrada with Sherfy Engineering. Yes, staff is correct. We did send in a request to table the
Table the
item.
item.
This time uncertain.
okay,
After the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago at the last P and Z meeting, we just spoke to the client. We're going to move forward based on your recommendations, which is therefore making us go back before the Parks Board, since we're adding additional lots and adding in that road. And we're going to wait to go before Parks Board and then come back before you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion to table.
Motion on table?
A motion and a second?
I'll second.
And a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
It was on.
I think we had a lot of residents here from, I think it's Lucia Street? Okay, let me just tell you a little bit of what just went on. The developer of the tract that was proposed to be behind your subdivision has asked to table the development at this point, time uncertain. That means that at this current time, they're not proposing to do anything. with that piece of property in the back. They will probably come back to this commission at a much, time uncertain, is the way they put it. So just so that you all know that that's what's going on. Yes, sir.
I have a question on the Lucia Court for, sorry. Record, my name is Alberto Campos. My question is, what would make them choose our street? Our street in that subdivision is probably one of the smallest ones that we have. Not too long ago, we had an emergency vehicle there for some kind of emergency, I'm assuming. He parked and that took up the whole street.
Yeah.
Now, to make this an entrance exit to the main subdivision now, to add another 75 or 80
Well,
additional?
let me go ahead. At the last meeting, we asked him that we didn't think that the idea coming in through your street was a good idea because it's already very narrow.
Okay,
The engineer redesigned, they made a street that goes out to Casa Verde and into the subdivision, okay?
right.
So they've done that. However, at this point in time, they're choosing because they've added more lots and they've done some things to delay this project from it going forth at this point.
Right.
They will go or come back, based on the owner's request whenever they want to see, if this commission will approve this new plan, which has got a street, the way they proposed it, but they tabled it, is it's got his own street out to Casa Verde.
But going in through Lucia Court?
No, sir.
No? Okay.
No, sir. Lucia Court, and this is a question that I'm gonna ask the fire department. The reason that, and this is a question, normally the fire department after, I'm gonna ask, Chief Dominguez, I don't remember the number of lots that you need over to be able to have two entrances and
For
exits.
the Laredo Fire Department, once it exceeds 30 one and two family dwellings, then you need a separate fire
Okay,
entrance.
so that's what the issue was with Lucia Court, okay, that they needed, fire department needs, because these are gonna be more than 70 lots.
Right.
Now, given that Lucia Court is a very narrow street, the only real use that, the only one that really needs an entrance and exit through your street would be the fire department. Those are things that can be addressed pretty easily with fire control gates for only fire departments, because you do have your own street to go in and out to that other subdivision. But again, the developer's asked to table that, and at this point, it's not going forth.
Right, appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. All right, the next item that we have is El Eden subdivision, unit 11. And this is a preliminary consideration of the plat, subdivision, unit 11. The intent is residential. It's 19.88 acres located south of Sierra Vista Boulevard and west of Cuatro Vientos Road. This is a 120 lot development. This is an R1A zone, and its proposed action is approved subject to the following comments. Mr. Nance, are you in agreement with the comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we agree with the comments.
Okay. Wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, subject to the following comments.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next item that we have is, it's been tabled as part of the same,
Part of the same thing? Yeah.
part of the same Stanford Heights subdivision that's been tabled. Next item is item 9A, the Achar billboards. This is final consideration of the plat of the Achar billboard number 3. The intent is commercial, and this is a .084 acre tract located south of Lomas del Sur and west of Cuatro Vientos, and the proposed action is approval.
Motion to approve, subject to the following comments.
There are no comments.
There's no comment, that's right. I'm just noticing, hold on, I'm noticing that there's more approvals, right? So should we just bring them all up at once?
There's A through F.
Huh?
A through F.
8 through 11?
A through F.
9.
9A through 9F.
9A through 9F. So can I make a motion to bring up all items 9A
Hold on a
through?
second, hold on a second. Let me just make sure.
You don't trust that?
No, that I don't have a conflict. Yes, go ahead.
The spirit of trust, read that book.
All right, we have a motion to take them all together.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
Approve.
Motion to approve, sir.
9A through 9F.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Have 10A and 10B.
now, we have a motion to adjourn?
No, we got two more
We're
items.
not done.
I'm sorry, 10A, right?
10A.
I'm sorry. This is the consideration of the model subdivision rules and compliance for the plat of, Monaco subdivision phase two. This is a 16.96 acre tract. It is located west of McPherson Road and north of Shiloh Drive. The zoning for 98 lot development is R1, and the proposed action is the plat is in full compliance with the home model rules, and staff recommends approval. Motion to approve?
Can I make a motion to take 10A and 10B together?
Well, we just read 10A, so just,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
there you go.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we have 10B. Consideration of the tract is located north of the model subdivision rule compliance for the San Isidro North Estate lot subdivision. The proposed action is applied in full compliance with the home model rules, and the staff recommends approval. Now you can make a motion.
I make a motion to approve 10B.
Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Do we have any?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.